Hello everybody, welcome to the CFB Battle Royale. I am your host Greggles, and we are going to be taking a look at the SEC right now. The SEC is a 14-team conference from the Southeast, and let's get started and then we'll start doing introductions while the first few turns are happening. Alrighty, up in the top we have in Bryant-Denny Stadium, we have the University of Alabama Crimson Tide. And then going clockwise from there, in Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, we have the Arkansas Razorbacks. In Jordan-Hare Stadium, we have the Auburn Tigers. In Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, we have the Florida Gators. Down in Sanford Stadium, we have the Georgia Bulldogs. Over in Kroger Field, we have the Kentucky Wildcats. In Death Valley, we have the LSU Tigers, also known as Tiger Stadium, but Death Valley sounds cooler. In Davis Wade Stadium, we have the Mississippi State Bulldogs. In Memorial Stadium, we have the Mizzou Tigers, or Missouri Tigers. In Vaught Hemingway Stadium, we have the Ole Miss Rebels. In Williams-Brice Stadium, we have the South Carolina Gamecocks. In Neyland Stadium, we have the Tennessee Volunteers. In Kyle Field, we have the Texas A&M Aggies. And in Vanderbilt Stadium, we have the Vanderbilt Commodores. So, with everyone introduced, hope everyone is having a good day today. I know we started that one kind of quick. I just want to rush through the first few turns until we actually get to some exciting things. So, I hope everyone's doing well today. I know we're on day 4, I think, of quarantine here in Orlando, so I'm sure it's similar for everyone else out there, and I hope you all are staying sane, doing what you can to get through. Those of you who are working from home, I hope it's going well. Those of you who are out of work at the moment, I hope it gets better for you. So, how you doing, Quick Joe? Alrighty, so let's keep going. We're at turn 30, no units yet. It's very early for that, so we'll probably see some expansions. We do see LSU kind of expanding out into Kentucky there. Auburn is expanding over towards Florida. Arkansas expanding out towards the middle, Vanderbilt fronting on Texas A&M, and then that seems to be it. Everyone else seems to be going towards the middle. If you hear my cat, I apologize. He's upset for some reason right now, but we're just gonna hope that he stays quiet. All right, so no units yet. It's still very early on in the game. And one thing I do want to note, and this came up in the original Battle Royale in back in last summer, is Georgia. Georgia has probably the most overpowered unique unit in the game. And that is called Hate Ball. So for those of you who don't follow the CFB, the Reddit CFB ball comics, Hate Ball is just a little ball of hate, as the name implies. But he is, in the game, a giant death robot that if Georgia can manage to get that far in the game, which no one has yet, no one's gotten that far in the game. We've gotten kind of close, but never that far. But if he can get there, he will rain death upon everybody. No matter how many cities he has, no matter what happens, he will rain death upon everybody, and Georgia will win the game. So the name of the game for Florida, Kentucky, Auburn, and LSU right now, who are the closest, is to stop Georgia from getting that far in the game. So let's hope they can do it, or let's not hope they can do it. Let's hope they fail and see some hate ball. All right, turn 54, looking around, no units yet. I did see a few great generals. There's one in Vanderbilt. There was one down here in the south, I thought, but I don't see him anymore. Excuse me. I don't know where he went. I could have sworn I saw another one, but I guess not. So, alrighty. Oh, there we go. All right, so Georgia is the first one that I see. Yep, so Georgia's the first team I see to get 2 military units. They have a single catapult, just like most of the teams in this series have started out with. Actually, I think all of them have. I don't think anyone started out with not a catapult. So Georgia has a catapult and a great general. Everyone else still working their way to a melee unit. I see great generals at Texas A&M, as is tradition, and I see one at Vanderbilt as well. There's one at Arkansas. So just having a catapult this early isn't a huge advantage. We've seen before that early armies don't necessarily mean a lot. They're great for starting out, and for deterrence, but they're not going to win you the game. LSU has a catapult as well now at this point. It all comes down to strategy and city captures in this tournament, as Vanderbilt builds another catapult as well. So the team who has the most cities is going to have the best production and is going to have the best chances of winning. And it's really that simple. So it all comes down to who you declare war against when and how well you do in said wars. So it looks like Vanderbilt also has built a unit, not sure what yet, but they're down by 1 point compared to the 2 with catapults. So yeah, they also have a catapult that must have just gotten built, and for some reason that means it's 1 less point than everyone else. So continuing on, I don't see anything else yet. All right, no, there we go. Vanderbilt now has that second catapult. Auburn has their own catapult as well. Nothing else exciting yet. And we're early. It's turn 80, so like I said, this is about when we start seeing everyone focus on military. There's Mizzou's. Alabama slow to start. Arkansas slow to start. Florida doesn't have anything yet. I mean, not even a great general like everyone else seems to have. Neither does Kentucky or Tennessee. So Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee have nothing built yet. Everyone else has at least a great general, but yeah. So oh, sorry, Kinzel's list. Yeah, you missed out last night. No problem. I can summarize it. So the Mountain West ended up going to who won? I have it written down. Hold on 1 second. Let me look at my notes here. The Mountain West went to. Let's see if I can remember it before my computer boots back up. Nope, I can't. It went to Nevada. So the Mountain West went to Nevada. It was a pretty close fight, but then Nevada just really kind of ran with it. And then the Pac-12 came down to a 4-way tie, which was really a 3-way tie between Washington, Colorado, Utah, and who was the fourth one? Washington, Colorado, Utah, and there's someone in the southwest of the map. Oregon State, that was it. And Oregon State got demolished immediately. So then it was a 3-way tie for a bit. And then Utah ran away with it and won. So Utah is the winner of the Pac-12, Nevada winner of the Mountain West. So they will go on to face everyone else, including the winners of today in the SEC and the Sun Belt. And the championship is going to be tomorrow at 6 p.m. as well. So if you want to watch the championship, it's tomorrow at 6 p.m. We're going to do it on its own separate day. It's going to be a whole special event. Especially since it's Friday, we can go late if we need to. We can do whatever we want. And so, yeah, we're going to do it tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Going back into the game here, it looks like Ole Miss now has a catapult. Mizzou has 2. South Carolina focusing on trade at the moment. Tennessee still has nothing. Texas A&M still working on the Great General and a Caravan. Vanderbilt now has 2 catapults. Bama still has no military units. Arkansas still has no military units. Auburn with 2 catapults. Florida with a Caravan now. And Kentucky still with nothing. Georgia still with their original catapult and nothing else. So surprisingly, I'm shocked that Kentucky, Florida, and Bama and Tennessee haven't really done. Oh, there we go. Tennessee got a catapult, so they're now out of that club, and it's just Kentucky with nothing left built. So I don't know what Kentucky's doing. Florida at least got a Caravan. Alabama at least has a great general, which they probably didn't build. They were probably given that, but still, Auburn has 3 catapults now. So Auburn is really coming ahead as the team to compete against, along with Vanderbilt. LSU's definitely up there. Georgia can catch up quickly. Mizzou's really up there. And Ole Miss catching up as well. So we're going to see some pretty good wars here probably in the next. It's turn 109, so probably the next, I'd say 20, 30 turns, we probably will see a war break out. Who knows? So I bet you it's going to be a a dual war. So we're going to see two teams ganging up on another team. Probably going to be between two teams with someone weak in the middle. So someone like Georgia and LSU against Kentucky. That would be a smart move. Or you could see LSU and Mizzou against Mississippi State, who just has that great general as well. So, oh, that's a good point. I think Washington State actually has pirate ships. I got to change that. Actually, I don't think I did anything unique to the coach. Every unique unit is about the school itself and not about the coach. But I think special traits could be. So I'll double check and make sure everything is moved correctly. I know I moved the coaches before this Micro Battle Royale, but I'm still in the process of rebuilding the mods to fit for this new year with all the coaching changes and whatnot. And then I'm also working on getting these ready to release. So I know the Americans like almost done, and I'm trying to debate whether I want to release them as soon as each conference is finished, or if I want to do them all at once. I think I'm going to go conference by conference to release these onto Steam. And as soon as I do, I will be sure to let everybody know. You can check my Twitter at, I think it's Greggles901. I know the link's in Twitch. If you scroll down below the video, there's a button there. You can follow me there. I don't post much, but when I do, it's important, I guess. So you can follow me there. I'll let everyone there know. I'll try to make a post on the subreddit. They're kind of mad at me at the moment for posting too much about this stuff. So I'm laying low on there for a while. And that's probably big enough to make its own post, so I'll risk it for that. Alrighty, so continuing on, it looks like no wars yet. We're at turn 135. Auburn has that melee unit that they need. LSU has a lot of melee units. Mississippi State now does have Bully, their bulldog. Ole Miss looking pretty good. Tennessee's catching up militarily. South Carolina with just that original catapult still. Same with Georgia, they have two now, so Georgia's doing good. Texas A&M has no military yet. Alabama has a single catapult, and Arkansas has raged ahead to having a somewhat military. Florida's still very quiet, so I could see Florida being attacked by both Georgia and Auburn here. And it really comes down to, does Georgia want to go and join with LSU against Kentucky, or join with Auburn against Florida, or do something by themselves? It looks like LSU is moving over towards Mississippi State's territory, so we may see our first war here unless they're just kind of scouting. It looks like they're going to scout. So they looked like they were going to go all out with something, but now they just seem to be sending a single pikeman out to explore and see what's available, see what looks good. Unlike yesterday with the Mountain West, where Fresno State did a really good job of going across the map and having a cross-continental war. And this is for you, Kinsler's List, who asked about what happened yesterday. Fresno State was about where Georgia is now, maybe Florida. And they went across the continent and attacked, I think it was UNLV on the other side, and they took them over. They captured the capital and then went to wars on that side and took over the capital above them, and I think the capital below them. But then that left them with the problem of having to cross the continent with their military to defend any of their cities. And because of that, there was a war on the east where they had no army, and then a war on the west where they had all of the rest of their army at the same time, and the eastern front collapsed. And so Fresno State was out their original capital. So that's something you've got to be careful with. If you're going to have wars, it's best to have them in close proximity to your original capital in this game. You don't really want to come over here if you're Auburn. You don't want to come over here and attack South Carolina because they're weak, or Texas A&M. Because when you do something like that, you're opening yourself up to having to split your military in half, which just weakens both militaries. And then your neighbors are going to notice. So a team like Arkansas here, who has a big military, and a team like Vanderbilt or Tennessee, who have big militaries as well, could declare joint wars on both sides of the continent, and your armies are split, so they're both half their army size that you really have, and you're in trouble. So that's not a good idea. There we go. So Georgia and LSU are going to wage war against Kentucky, and I called that. That was the first war I said was going to happen, and that is what ended up happening. So who will commit fully to this war? I don't know. This could be just they declare war on it, both kind of wait for the other one to lose their armies before invading themselves. And right now it looks like that's what's going to happen. Auburn does have Aubie, their unique unit. Let's see. I don't see any other uniques. Texas A&M and Alabama really need, and Florida need to get into gear here. Mississippi State has at least a pikeman who used to be their bully. He's already upgraded. And that's just not a good idea to be that far behind now at this point in the game. But it could happen. I mean, we saw it with the Mac, where Akron was super far behind until they had a great snipe. And then from there just blew up and took over the rest of the game. So LSU does invade, and they start to bring Kroger Field down in health. Alabama builds the Terracotta Army, giving them a second catapult compared to everybody else. They basically just took the ability to have the Terracotta Army away from everybody else instead of really benefiting them, their own armies. So it was a strategic move. We've seen that a lot in this tournament, where the Terracotta Army really doesn't help. It more is just to hinder everyone else around you. So LSU has Kroger Field down to the red. They have a pikeman there to capture it. Will they be able to do it? Yes. So LSU takes Kroger Field, and Kentucky has been eliminated from the game. That is an F in the chat for Kentucky. They just were way too slow to build that military, and it ended up biting them big time in the end there. So now LSU did that without using all of their military, but they lost a lot of military strength in that. And one thing that's going to happen is you're going to see a bunch of denouncements or a bunch of angry other teams ready to attack LSU. Mississippi State builds the Great Library, giving them helpful scientific boosts, which could bring their military strength up very quickly if they can utilize it. There's the first of the denouncements. You see Auburn denouncing LSU. Here comes Arkansas. Let's see if they just keep rolling in as the turns go. And no, it looks like just the two so far, but that could just mean that everyone else is silently brewing and wanting to invade. And this is where LSU needs to take that second city's production and quickly ramp up military strength, just to make sure that nobody else wants to go to war with them. Unlike, oh, Florida announced them too. Thank you so much. I did not see that. So thank you very much, Kinsler's List. All right, so up on the other side, Texas A&M has been declared war upon by both Vanderbilt and Tennessee. They finally built a composite bowman and a catapult, but it's a bit too late. Catapults are terrible attack weapons or defense weapons. They're really only siege weapons. You don't want to see them fighting units. They only are good for fighting cities. So both teams are going to rush in here. Unlike the Kentucky War, where it was just LSU doing all the heavy lifting, both teams are going to commit to this. Vanderbilt has the superior army, so they have more of a chance to get it. But Tennessee could hold back, let Vanderbilt do the heavy lifting, and just snipe it with one of these swordsmen or pikemen right there. Or this one out here, who's just exploring at the moment and finally coming back to join the fight. So, or maybe not. He's going north now. So Kyle Field is taking damage, but not enough. It's there we go. So it's down to the red as Tennessee and Vanderbilt both go. Tennessee will go first, so they have a chance to capture it. If they don't get it now, they're going to give it to Vanderbilt, but they do. So Tennessee captures Kyle Field, and the Aggies are eliminated, so that is an F in the chat for Texas A&M. The Aggie roller coaster fell off a little bit earlier than it normally does in the season, but it is tradition that it does fall off the tracks, so there it goes. Vanderbilt has denounced LSU, not Tennessee, like I was surprised. And here is the other end of for whatchamacallits. What was I just talking about? Sorry. The other end of the spectrum for denouncement, instead of denouncements, warmonger penalties. There we go. Warmonger penalties is people will go to war with you, and they don't really get that penalty that you normally would for a war. Luckily for Tennessee, it's from the other side of the continent with Georgia and Arkansas. Arkansas is a little close, but like I said with Fresno State yesterday, you don't really want to go across the continent to attack. Arkansas's best route would be to take Alabama first, then take Tennessee on, so then you're surrounding Vanderbilt at least. And you can attack them from both sides. Over here, Florida finally caught up and built Mr. 2-Bits, as well as a few other military units. Georgia has a decent military. We'll see if they actually want to send them out and invade against Tennessee, who, yes, I agree with you, Quick Joe, they are definitely the champions of life. Even though he's not there anymore, that stays with them. Alrighty, so no movement from Arkansas or Georgia in that war against Tennessee. So yeah, that looks like Tennessee's safe for now. They have to be careful. Everyone else is building up. If I were South Carolina, I would be shaking in my boots right now because Ole Miss is looking real scary. And South Carolina's got nothing. Georgia denounced Florida, so the world's largest outdoor cocktail party could happen very soon. Vanderbilt denounces Alabama. That's just showing that they want to attack them and they want a reason for it. Alabama needs to be careful here because Arkansas and Vanderbilt to an extent, but Arkansas especially has a massive military. And Bama has nothing. You can't rest on your laurels here. Just because you win in real life does not mean you will automatically win in the game. So if you win in the game, you do not win for real. I mean, you win virtual championship, but I don't know if Alabama wants to take those two. I don't know how dead set they are on this. I don't know if it's even on their radar, so hopefully it is. So, no wars yet. Everyone's being quiet. Florida builds the statue of Zeus, which will help their small military. These may be the Shula years. So there we go. So there's 2 more declarations of war on Tennessee. I don't know why South Carolina was one of those. It's really not good for you to be the aggressor when you have 1, 2, 3, 4 military units, and Ole Miss and Mizzou, and all of them are just right there. So it's not a good idea. LSU is going to actually try to take on this pikeman who's been wandering around for forever, and South Carolina is going to invade with the few men that they have. All right, here's the bigger declaration of war that actually has some significance. LSU and Georgia both declare war on both of their rivals. So in Florida, so Florida has to fight both their rivals at once. Arkansas makes peace with Tennessee. South Carolina is not going to do anything. We'll see if it happens, but I doubt it. We'll check up on them every once in a while. LSU's declaration of war is scary, but they've sent their military all over to the other side of the map, so Florida's okay with that for now. They could turn around, but it's going to take some time. Florida is actually being really aggressive. They're going into Georgia territory, trying to attack them there. LSU seems committed to taking on Tennessee. South Carolina's softening them up a bit, but it doesn't seem to be working very well. So Tennessee is going to declare war on Alabama along with Vanderbilt. That's a scary situation if you're Bama. What's up, Ariel Shuffle? Hope you're doing well today. So, let's see. Yeah, the war against Alabama is going to be pretty slow because Tennessee's doesn't have any military units. They're busy with South Carolina's little small invasion and LSU's actual invasion. Vanderbilt doesn't have too much in terms of a military yet, so Alabama should be okay for now. If Arkansas joins in, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. LSU send in a single pikeman to Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, but Florida's doing a good job of repelling all of Georgia's advances. I think they've actually been the aggressor for the most part in this war. They lost to Mr. 2-Bits. Rest in peace. I always liked Mr. 2-Bits. So, the cities, that's not really that important. LSU is taking Kyle Field, and they did it. So LSU used that military, ran in here, and took Kyle Field down like that. Now they're in that odd predicament where they have cities on 2 sides of the map, and they're going to have to worry about defending that. They may want to just take Kyle Field, eliminate Tennessee, then abandon it, because it's going to be hard to work your way over there with at least Mizzou and Ole Miss. You can take Mississippi State easily. But if they take Nayland, they're going to have a huge warmonger penalty between the 3 teams they've eliminated and the 4th city that they captured. So Florida and Georgia make peace for now. Both teams worked each other's militaries down, but it was pretty much a stalemate. No real damage on either side besides military. So a few pillage tiles. I think 1 pillage tile each, maybe 2 for Georgia. So not a bad war. Not a great war, but not a bad one. Excuse me. LSU seems to be okay with not going after Nayland. I think they want to let their international relations cool down a bit instead of going straight in for that 4th conquer. South Carolina is not being that safe. They're going straight into it. And the 2 powerhouses are going to go to war here. So South Carolina makes peace with Tennessee. So that is over. Ole Miss is still at war, but they don't seem interested at the moment. And Ole Miss and Missouri are going to go to war here for the battle of the... I don't know what we would call this. I guess the battle of the... I don't know. I'll have to think of something for that war. We'll think of it. Alabama and LSU have made a public declaration of friendship, and people from the South are all puking. That sounds awful. Why are Alabama and LSU becoming friends? Arkansas has denounced Alabama, so That's more like it. They're more in the spirit than LSU is. What the hell is going on down in the bayou? All right, so Georgia's denounced Alabama. Everyone hates Alabama. Alrighty, so Mizzou is getting really aggressive. They're trying to flank Ole Miss here. And it's kind of working. LSU is not committing to this war with Tennessee. Vanderbilt's trying to commit to this war with Alabama, but it's not going very well for them. Alrighty, so Tennessee and Alabama are going to make peace. I forgot they were even at war. There's Vanderbilt's peace agreement with Alabama. I want to see Auburn and Arkansas do something. Arkansas especially has been just building military up and up and up and up and needs something to do with it. You could take Alabama. They're going to go after Tennessee, I guess. So Arkansas is going to go back to war with Tennessee along with Georgia. So both teams, same as before, are going to go to war with Tennessee. I don't see either of them committing. Ole Miss denounces Tennessee and LSU. Mizzou is starting to do damage to Vaught Hemingway Stadium, but they don't have the military strength to actually capture it. So it is going to re-heal itself. LSU is making a push towards Neyland Stadium now, excuse me. But it's going to be too small of a military, I think, to make a significant dent in that stadium's health. So Missouri does found a pantheon giving them culture from pastures, so they do have a few pastures here. Culture can help you. There's no culture victory in the game. They did make peace with Ole Miss as well, by the way. Culture can help because it can unlock certain perks. Like you can get your military strength upgraded, you can get your city gold, whatever you need. There's certain upgrade perks to each culture, so it's not entirely useless even if there is no culture victory in this game. LSU makes peace with Florida. Their military is pretty much gone. This is the problem with spreading yourself too thin. Mississippi State can probably invade and take Death Valley right now if they wanted to. Alabama's going to build the Alhambra. Alabama. I don't really know how to pronounce that. So I think I realized after I said it that that's not how that's supposed to be said. That's not how that's spelled. Arkansas is pretty much out of room, so they need to do something. Auburn too. Both teams need someone to invade. Alhambra. Alhambra. Thank you very much, Quick Joe. Alhambra. Yeah, I'm not the best at pronunciation, so I agree that Arkansas could do some major damage to the north here. If they could just declare war, they could take Bama, Vanderbilt, and then probably Kyle Field with no hesitation. They'd have to worry about Auburn. So my guess, especially with Florida building the Great Wall, is if Auburn can wait, or Arkansas can wait for Auburn to try to invade Florida. As soon as that declaration of war is declared and Auburn is distracted, you go. You do what you can do and just wreck the North. And take everything you can from Alabama and Vanderbilt and LSU and maybe even get down to Tennessee. Because if you can get these three, you have a great stronghold in the North. And that's a lot of production that you can get. You would match LSU in terms of cities, so you would be in a really good position to take over the rest of the map. Especially with how weak some of these teams in the East are with South Carolina, Tennessee, Kyle Field, and Bama. So it's really ripe for whoever can take it. Ole Miss and Missouri just kind of weakened each other. Mississippi State's probably the powerhouse in the Southwest now. After such a slow start, they're probably in the best position to take over a few cities in the South. South Carolina is going to redeclare war on Tennessee and invade. Arkansas and Georgia both made peace after the second time of not doing anything. South Carolina waited until they had an actual military this time and can press a full-on invasion. And instead of going after the North, Arkansas declares war on Auburn. So we can see what goes on there. That's going to be a good one. Let's see what we can do. Alabama's going to declare war on Georgia. That one's surprising. We'll get to this in a second because Neyland Stadium is down to under half health. LSU declares war on Georgia. They have a sizable force to invade, but I don't think it's going to be enough to make that full push. Again, all they need to do is take the stadium. You can leave the units out of it and just take the stadium, all the units disappear, just like what happened to Tennessee. So that is an F in the chat for Tennessee. They have been eliminated by South Carolina. The Gamecocks have taken Neyland Stadium with a decent force, and if they want to, can continue on to Kyle Field. So Oh, it really sucks to be on Rocky Top. So that is the end of Neyland Stadium in orange and white. So over here in the war that everyone wants to see, the two wars really. Arkansas doing great work of getting through to Auburn. They just need to take Jordan-Hare. Like I said, they don't need to worry about Auburn's military. They can just try and take the city, and Auburn's military will disappear like that. So they also declare war on Alabama. I think they're spreading themselves a bit too thin here with this war on Auburn. Auburn was too big of a force. So they're doing a great job of getting through there, but now they're going to have to fight a two-front war, and if Auburn pushes back somehow and surges, you're going to be in trouble. Vanderbilt, luckily, is helping take some of the pressure off Arkansas, as they are also going to invade Alabama at the same time. And so that's going to help the Razorbacks. If they can take Jordan-Hare, they can quickly turn around. They have plenty of military units, and they can produce more probably pretty quickly. So they can turn it right back around and take Bryant-Denny Stadium from Vanderbilt. They just got to work quick so Vanderbilt doesn't get it themselves. Down in the south, LSU is amassing units at Kroger Field, waiting to make that push into Georgia's territory. If they can maybe get help from Florida, that would be even better. But right now, they're on their own. Jordan-Hare Stadium is taken down to the red and almost captured, but Arkansas agrees to a peace deal from Auburn. I'm shocked that they took that, because they had it. They had Jordan-Hare. Like, that turn would have been it. And they accepted a peace deal, leaving Auburn to live another day with just a single composite bowman and some caravans. Why? Why did they do that? They had them. I guess they can go take Bama as a consolation prize, which is weird to say, and it only really applies virtually, is let's go fight Bama as a consolation prize instead of fighting Auburn. But man, that was the opportunity of a lifetime, and they gave it up. Why would you do that? So luckily, Bama's focusing entirely on Vanderbilt. LSU decided to land bomb Vanderbilt from behind, so that helps Alabama out a little bit. And Arkansas is not committing to this war with Bama. I don't know what they're thinking. Oh, I hope this isn't an ominous sign for Pittman. Alright, so Mississippi State's looking really good. LSU needs to be worried about what's happening to the west. They are managing to take some damage into Stanford Stadium. I keep saying Stanford, sorry. Sanford Stadium. That was last night. So Alabama and Georgia make peace. That makes sense because Georgia's worried about getting their stadium and capital stolen. Florida has started worshipping a pantheon of gods, giving them plus 30% city range combat strength. So with the wall and that, Florida is basically an impenetrable fortress at the moment. And this military in there, so they can just turtle. And they're great. If they want to, invade Jordan-Hare. Take Jordan-Hare Stadium. If I were Florida, I would do that. Arkansas just gave it to you on a silver platter. Take what you're given. And I don't know if they'll do that or not. LSU seems to be backing off of Georgia. Florida's actually making that push now, I see. So Florida may try to get Georgia's stadium out of them. South Carolina's looking really good with that extra city of production. Arkansas is rebuilding. They're not going to really push into that war with Alabama at the moment. They seem to be focusing entirely on getting their military strength back. Let's see. LSU and Mississippi State. Ooh, that's not good. So Mississippi State is going to invade LSU now that they're weak. Vanderbilt's going to join them, but Vanderbilt's too far away and too distracted with Alabama. So this is really bad for LSU. It's poor timing. They showed their hand to Georgia. They didn't capture the city like they wanted to, and now Mississippi State's going to call their bluff. And let me see. Kyle Field. Did Kyle Field flip? No, Kyle Field's still purple. Georgia has the most money, so if you can take Georgia, that's a pretty good reserve. Kyle Field is taking damage. Oh, you're right. I forgot about Vanderbilt being up there. Okay, you're right. Vanderbilt is gonna be able to take a city. They can take Kyle Field. Thank you for pointing that out. I forgot that LSU owned it. And this is what I'm talking about, though. Kyle Field is it's unguarded. It has a trebuchet, which isn't a great defending unit. And now they have to fight this big war in their home territory and this other war up here with Vanderbilt. And they're going to lose both because their military spread. Now, their military is also spread from the war with Georgia. But even if they had a military, they'd have to pick essentially what territory do we want to defend and which one are we okay with giving up. and they would obviously pick their home capital, but right now they don't have the military to do that. It's down in the red. They're trying their hardest to defend it. Mississippi State has tons of units in the area. This knight's probably going to get it. He's very hurt. LSU does go first. The knight does pull through, or the long swordsman does pull through and stop him. But that pikeman's looking pretty good now. Nope, he's there. There's another one behind. So Mississippi State's going to put up a fight. And they're going to try their hardest to get in there, but can they do it? They're getting stopped. LSU's not going to lose their capital without a fight. But at least Mississippi State's doing the right thing. They're bringing in all the military units they can, just one after another, until one of them can finally pull through. LSU has no military units at all, really, in this area. And there it goes. That pikeman pulled through. Mississippi State does capture Death Valley. They probably can hold it. LSU's still at war with Georgia. So Georgia's distracting them over here by Kroger Field. And Mississippi State needs to make peace now because they have no military left. They have to be careful of a Mizzou invasion now, doing the same thing that they just did to LSU. Up in the north, Kyle Field is safe. Vanderbilt's out of military units. The war between Arkansas and Alabama, I believe, is still raging on. Let's double check here. Alabama is not at war with anybody. So no, they made peace with Arkansas. They're just denounced. They're still friends with LSU. That's the only friendship in this game, and that's so weird. LSU is at war with Georgia, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. And they have denounced Arkansas and Florida. So they're only okay with Alabama and South Carolina at the moment. And luckily they're okay with South Carolina, but that I have a feeling is going to change very soon. The way South Carolina's military is positioned, there's that declaration of war. So South Carolina is going to join in on that dog pile against LSU, and they're going to get Kyle Field. There's no way they're not getting that stadium. So Mississippi State's going to have to defend Death Valley here, but I think they'll be okay with Georgia taking out the remainder of LSU's units. Kyle Field is immediately captured by South Carolina with really no problem whatsoever. So now the Gamecocks are in a really good position, the only team with 3 cities and a decent military. So South Carolina started out really slow, and now they're doing okay. It all comes down to strategy. It looks like Vanderbilt has open borders with Mizzou, and Florida's been very quiet. So Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and Georgia all make peace with LSU. They're still at war with Mississippi State, but Mississippi State needs to make peace. They need time to rebuild their military. And now South Carolina and Florida are going to go to war against Georgia instead. Florida should be able to take Sanford Stadium here. The cocktail party is heating up. Florida eliminates pretty much all of Georgia's military, surrounds the city, and begins to damage it. It's down to the yellow. Now it's down to the about half. Now it's down to the red. Let's just keep it going. Can they capture it? It's down to the deep red. They have a few pikemen coming in. They just need to leave them room to actually capture the city. Arkansas is rebuilding nicely, but they're going to want to go to war. Auburn has just completely stopped. I'm guessing they're super unhappy or super poor because they have not recovered from that war with Arkansas. Like at all. No military units whatsoever have been built since that war. So, can Florida pull it off? Can they get one of these pikemen over and capture the city? He's close. They got 3 of them in the area. They just need to move them in. They're outside. There it goes. So Florida takes over Sanford Stadium and eliminates Georgia. So that is an F in the chat for the Bulldogs. We are not going to be seeing hate ball today. The Gators have stopped it. So congratulations to Florida on that one. And you've stopped death. You've stopped fiery death from above later down the road for whoever was left. So now it's Arkansas's turn to probably try again with Auburn. Auburn's denounced Florida. That's the warmongering penalty. Alabama's looking kind of intimidating at the moment. They've since learned their lesson and are going to focus on military. South Carolina needs to be stopped. They're in a very good position. This is where Arkansas needs to take Auburn and start playing catch up. Take Auburn, take Vanderbilt. Both are open cities. Vanderbilt does have Mr. C, but that'll even your odds against South Carolina. It'll be 3 cities on 3 cities. You can then, you're surrounding Alabama, so you can then build your military up and then just invade Bama to give yourself that extra advantage. Ole Miss and Mizzou are pretty intimidating for South Carolina. Ole Miss less so now, but Mizzou's pretty good. Mississippi State is still at war with LSU. They've rebuilt their military. They're reinvading Kroger Field. I don't think it's enough units to do anything, but they are trying. They're making that push, and that's what's important. Will Florida go to war with them? No. Mizzou and Ole Miss will. So Mizzou and Ole Miss go to war with LSU. I don't see anything happening there. They're too far away at the moment. Mississippi State does get Kroger Field down to the yellow. Florida builds Stonehenge. That trebuchet could do some damage if they can just keep it pressed on it while they bring these guys forward. Florida is moving into position to possibly go to war with the Tigers as well. But no declaration yet. Alright, so Mississippi State finally makes peace with LSU. It was a long war. LSU lost their capital in that. They also lost Kyle Field to South Carolina in a separate war. So LSU was a big loser in that. And as a parting gift, Mississippi State does land bomb LSU's remaining territory, bringing them about a tile away from Kroger Field. So they can get their units right up against it. They can put some trebuchets there, set them up so that as soon as they want to go to war again, they can just start hurling rocks at the city's walls. So great job by Mississippi State there. Really good parting gift. So Florida looking kind of like they want to go to war with the Tigers here, but no commitment yet. LSU declares war on Vanderbilt. That's a mistake. They're not gonna go into that war at all. But Alabama also declares war on Vanderbilt, and they will commit to that war. Arkansas declares war on Alabama. I don't see them pushing that far south to do that. Hopefully they've learned from LSU's mistakes. Now would be a great time for Arkansas to invade Alabama, since they just left their capital wide open. Vanderbilt Stadium is beginning to take damage from Alabama. They have plenty of melee units to take it. Especially these cavalry back here can get there really quickly. LSU makes peace with Mizzou and Ole Miss after no fight whatsoever. Arkansas needs to take Alabama on right now. Alabama does take Vanderbilt Stadium, so that is going to eliminate Vanderbilt from the game. So that is an F in the chat for Vanderbilt. Alabama has tons of units left. If Arkansas wants Bama's cities, they need to move now. Don't let Bama build up with 2 cities of production advantages. You don't want to let them get strong. Alabama does immediately land bomb South Carolina, kind of taking back the land that Alabama took from Vanderbilt. So, that South Carolina took from Vanderbilt, I should say. So, let's see. There is the declaration of war. So South Carolina and Arkansas are going to declare war on Alabama, and that is exactly what Arkansas needed. South Carolina is probably going to take Vanderbilt Stadium, but you can take Bryant-Denny and maybe try and get a few units quickly to Vanderbilt Stadium. Like, take this knight and send him to Vanderbilt. Get him in position so when South Carolina starts doing damage, you can run in there and sneak and steal it. Ole Miss has 15 happiness. Everyone else is pretty okay. Florida was 0. That's just because they just fought a war with Georgia. They're probably still reeling from puppeting that city. Arkansas not committing to this fight yet, so I'm surprised that they haven't pushed units towards Bryant-Denny. South Carolina shows no hesitation to go after Vanderbilt Stadium. They need to be careful in the south here of Ole Miss or Mizzou going after Williams-Brice, but for right now they seem to be okay. Alright, South Carolina begins doing damage to a already weakened Vanderbilt Stadium, and they bring it down to about half health immediately. Arkansas still not fully committing to this war. South Carolina immediately takes Vanderbilt Stadium, and now they're going to make that push for Bryant-Denny instead. So if Arkansas is not going to do anything, they're going to lose an opportunity here for Bryant-Denny. They're moving in now, but it's way too late to do that. And they're not committing. South Carolina is going to block them out, so they can't even get in there. So they're kind of moving in, but Arkansas has them pretty much, or South Carolina has them pretty much blocked out. Down here in the south, Florida and South Carolina are going to go to war against LSU. South Carolina's busy. They're not going to commit, but Florida has tons of units, and they can easily take on the Tigers. So Bryant-Denny Stadium begins to take damage. And it's at about 3/4 of health. Arkansas hoping they can just hold in there, let South Carolina lose some units. South Carolina's military is pretty much all up here. If they lose that military, they're very vulnerable down here in the south. Florida invading Kroger Field. They only have 1 melee unit in this longswordman here. It's a lot of crossbows. There's 2 pikemen coming along. that can do damage to the city. Florida's very behind military or technologically. Bryant-Denny Stadium still in the yellow. It healed to the green a little bit, but Arkansas has managed to push South Carolina out slightly. They haven't brought their full military, and now they're pulling back, which is a surprising move. No one seems to want Bryant-Denny Stadium. Not really sure why. Kroger Field is starting to take damage. Florida is doing their best. They need to move quickly, though, because Mississippi State is on the border and looks ready to invade. They have it down to the yellow. Auburn's going to declare war on LSU. Mississippi State's going to declare war on LSU. So this is where Florida needs to move fast, because if they don't take Kroger Field, Mississippi State will. So Florida's out of melee units. They're going to give this to Ole Miss. I keep confusing the two. Mississippi State. They're going to give it to the Bulldogs, and there it goes. So Mississippi State takes Kroger Field and eliminates LSU from the game. So that is an F in the chat for LSU. Ed Orgeron could not pull through this time, and he is going to be very sad. So up in the north, Bryant-Denny Stadium lies in ruins, but there's no military there. No one is committing any wars there. Burrow has left and LSU has fallen apart. I agree, Quick Joe. Alabama's still at war with both Arkansas and South Carolina, but South Carolina is looking real thin, and they're focusing more on the South, where Ole Miss is kind of positioning themselves. Arkansas, for some reason, has a fear of commitment and does not want to send a full military up there. At least invade Auburn. I mean, Auburn got land bombed by Florida here, so it's a little bit less lucrative of a take, but it's still an open city. Like, if I were Florida, I would build up quickly and take Jordan-Hare Stadium, because you just lost a big opportunity in Kroger Field to Mississippi State. And now the Bulldogs and the Gamecocks are looking really poised to take on the rest of the continent. It's an even year. Yes, I agree. It is an even year for Auburn, so not going to be. It's not going to be great. Is even year Auburn the good one or the bad one? Even year's good, right? 2010, 2000. No, even year's bad, because it was 2011 was the national championship. Yeah. So. All right. So Celatara, who's been eliminated? It looks like it's been Georgia, LSU, Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt have been eliminated so far. So let's see. Georgia has been eliminated, so we're going to lose out on Hate Ball for those of you who are just joining us. That is unfortunate, but good for everybody else in the game. Arkansas makes peace with Alabama, even though they have plenty of units to capture Bryant-Denny and knock them out of the game. And South Carolina's still at war with them, but again, they're focusing on what's happening with Ole Miss down here. Mississippi State looks ready, like they're going to invade Missouri. So let's see. If Missouri doesn't win this game, if they don't win the SEC, they're going to be banned for probation for another, like, 100 years. So... Alrighty, so... Alright, South Carolina builds the Parthenon. Not super good. It's okay. Florida denounces South Carolina. South Carolina is kind of fighting Bryant-Denny still. Just taking pot shots at this point. Excuse me. Mississippi State is not decided. It looks like they want to either go to war with Florida or they want to go to war with Mizzou. Florida's looking pretty scary. Mizzou's looking okay. That war between Mizzou and Ole Miss really hurt both teams. And they're slowly recovering, but it's a little too slow for everyone else who has multiple cities around them. All right, so Mississippi State's going to go to war with Alabama. That's on the opposite side of the country from them. Auburn's going to go to war with Alabama, so the Iron Bowl's going to kick off. But Arkansas is in the way, so the Iron Bowl's not going to be... is going to be kind of lackluster. Auburn does actually have a military now, but it looks like Florida's preparing to invade Jordan-Hare here. So Auburn's going to have its hands full very shortly. If Mississippi State declares war against Mizzou, Oh, I guess never mind. I was going to say then Florida is free to go into Jordan-Hare, but they're going to do it anyway. Florida declares war against Auburn and rushes, and they're already at Jordan-Hare Stadium, so that land bomb put them right up against the city gates. You only need to take the city. You don't need to worry about the military as much. Mississippi State quickly... Nope, they're just spreading around as say. This would be a good time to quickly turn around and take Sanford Stadium for yourself, but right now they seem content with where they are. Again, Ben Hill Griffin is a fortress, so it's going to be hard to invade there. But you can at least take Georgia's stadium. South Carolina doing what they can to take on Alabama, but it's just not enough. Arkansas just content with sitting there watching. Jordan-Hare is beginning to take damage. They're doing what they can to stop it, but there's just Florida learned from the Kroger Field fight, and they're bringing a lot more melee units. They're bringing everything they got. Jordan-Hare's down to about a third, maybe a little less health, maybe a quarter. Now it's down to the deep red with multiple melee units around. So here is going to be the end of Auburn. Jordan-Hare Stadium is captured. That is an F for Auburn in the chat. They have been eliminated from the game by Florida. So Florida setting themselves up a nice little corner. They're against a pretty scary looking, but it's been a very non-committed Arkansas team. So, and they have tons of food. They're number 2 in food compared to 1.25 for South Carolina and 2 for Florida. So not sure why Arkansas is just so hesitant to fight. South Carolina not doing so good with military. They're just, that war, this long war with Alabama has just been depleting their military strength. Mississippi State's looking amazing. They could go after either of their 2 neighbors. Ole Miss looking like they could maybe challenge South Carolina, but it's going to be a hard fight. So we're seeing the power teams kind of come forward here. We're seeing who's going to be making it far in the game and who's going to be making it not so far. South Carolina is really determined to take Bryant-Denny, but they're not sending in large enough militaries. They're not committing their full force because they want to make sure that there's enough down here to prevent Ole Miss from doing anything funny. Arkansas, I guess Alabama just knows isn't going to do anything at all. So I don't know what they're doing, man. They need to do something. Like, it's a new coach. You should be ecstatic to go do something. I know it's the same old coach's picture, but the name is different. We'll fix that later. That's a problem for, like, next week. So alrighty, let's keep going here. Let's see. No wars yet besides the one with the ongoing war between the Gamecocks in Alabama and this one with Mississippi State and Alabama. But Mississippi State's not going to commit to that. It's just way too far. It's such a thin gap to get your military through. Florida kind of trying to figure out they need to be focusing in the south just in case Mississippi State invades. But they're looking at Arkansas just like, you're not going to do anything if we invade you. You'll just sit there. You'll let us invade you. We've seen it. We know what you do. Mizzou looking like they're fronting against Ole Miss, so we may see a war between the Tigers and the Rebels here soon. Ole Miss does build the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But no wars yet. South Carolina still throwing a few units that they got at a time against Bryant-Denny. We see Mississippi State bulking up down here by Stanford, but Florida's absolutely going to war with Arkansas here. It's just a matter of time. They got all their units on the border of Arkansas. They've land bombed. Or Auburn land bombed them, I think. I don't think that was from Florida. It may have been. But they're already at the border of Donald W. Reynolds. So it could be a very quick war. You could ignore Arkansas's military and go straight for the city and capture it. Mississippi State makes peace with Alabama, probably because they're going to declare war on somebody in the next few turns. Hopefully not Florida, because they seem very determined to go north. They're trying to get away from Mississippi State right now. And there's that declaration. So Florida is going to go into war against Arkansas. They're going to try really hard for that Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. Again, you can ignore the units if you want to. Just go straight for that city. Go for knocking it down. If you take that city out, the military just disappears like that, like Thanos. Just snapping them away. So, alright, so no dent in the city yet. It's still very early in this war. So Arkansas doing what they can to defend themselves, but they really moved out of the way. They moved their military that's left out of their territory to the west when the attack is coming into the south. But this is what Florida did not want. So while Florida's away, Mississippi State's going to launch a sneak attack from the south, and they have unfettered access to Sanford Stadium. So they're going to... This really helps Arkansas out because Florida's going to be in a very tough spot. If they leave, Arkansas can come in and take Jordan-Hare. But if they don't leave, Mississippi State has free reign. They're going straight for Ben Hill Griffin. They're not even going to Sanford right now. They're striking them at the heart. They're not going to wait around for Georgia. They can come back to Georgia. Get through the wall and go for the capital. Go for the kill shot right away. I mean, Sanford's still kind of like second priority. You can see if Cannon was there shooting at it. Florida's rushing some of that military back. And now it seems like they're going to go for Sanford. They're going to go for the easy one first. They got really aggressive at first, and then I think realized that wasn't such a great idea. And now we're going to go for the easy city. Well, or they go for both. Florida rushed down to Sanford to defend it. They're leaving Ben Hill Griffin pretty much open. They know that Ben Hill Griffin is a fortress, so they don't have to worry about that. They made peace with Arkansas. They did a number on Arkansas's military. Like, Arkansas doesn't have much left. These are all non-fighting units. They have 2 pikemen in the water who can't fight. There's mountains blocking them from coming back onto land. Don't know how they got there in the first place. Ole Miss is on the move. Don't know where they're going. Probably South Carolina. They've left Vaught Hemingway wide open for Mizzou if they want to go for it. So Mississippi State's not doing so well against Florida at the moment. They've left some reserves. Mizzou is absolutely going for Vaught Hemingway. Where's Ole Miss going? What are you doing? You've left yourself wide open for Mizzou. Oh no. Alright, so Mississippi State is still pushing in for Sanford Stadium. They're not there yet, but they're going to be close. Florida's running out of units fast. Mizzou is right on that border for Ole Miss. So they're probably going to wait till Ole Miss commits to whatever war they seem to be heading towards. It looks to be Alabama. Alright, so they've decided not to. South Carolina finally built up a military and invaded Bryant-Denny. Florida land-bombed again into Arkansas territory, so now they're literally at the wall. Like, this wall is in Florida's territory. So they're at Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. South Carolina has plenty of units to take Bryant-Denny if they want to keep the pressure on. Ole Miss is slowly filing back. Mizzou is losing their opportunity quickly to invade. Now is the time to invade. Take these cannons. Do what you need. They apparently have open borders with Ole Miss, so they're pretty good down there. Ole Miss is distracted anyway. Or Mississippi State. I keep calling... I'm so sorry. I keep getting the two of them mixed up. They have open borders with Mississippi State, and it looks like they're friendly enough. Mississippi State is distracted. So now would have been the time to invade, but it's too late now. Ole Miss is back in their own territory. As small as and cramped as it may be, they seem to be home. So Florida's done a great job of keeping Mississippi State off of them. That's that bonus, that pantheon that they have with the range city strength. They've been able to hold back Mississippi State with relative ease. They're pushing into Arkansas territory while also holding back Mississippi State. So Florida's winning this. They're not going to have much military left, but they're doing a great job of holding out on their own. South Carolina's attack on Bryant-Denny Stadium seems to be failing again. The Gamecocks have a lot of their units down here again with Ole Miss. I'm showing green Kinsler's list, so if you're having streaming issues, try refreshing. I know internet's been crazy here. 2 days ago when we did our stream for the Mac and the whoever else it was, we did the Mac and the other and the Independence. We had a lot of streaming issues, so I think we're okay right now. I'm showing the stream quality is not too bad, so try refreshing and see if that helps. People that like to smile. Ole Miss is very happy. Alabama's pretty happy too with just... See, this is what Nick Saban loves. Nick Saban loves the constant invasions, the trying of the defense, and he's loving this right now. And there is that war between Ole Miss and Florida against Alabama. Florida manages to make peace with Mississippi State. And Florida needs time to rebuild. They're not going to go to war against Alabama. Ole Miss might. We saw them go up there once, but do they want to try that again? South Carolina finally, I think, made peace. Did I see that right? Yes, South Carolina finally made peace with Alabama, so that is done. They can focus on taking on Ole Miss if the rebels do stupidly enough send their military north. Mizzou might want to take a shot at Mississippi State if they're feeling bold. The Bulldogs have a weakened military, but they can quickly rebuild them with 3 cities. So if you can take that shot at Davis Wade and capture it, that's a huge blow to Mississippi State. That'll get you your 2nd city. You'll lose a lot of military strength in the process, but you have a buffer between you and South Carolina in Ole Miss. And that's really it. You're pretty isolated down here. So it would be a good opportunity now to take Davis Wade Stadium from Mississippi State. It looks like South Carolina is further land bombing Alabama. That is some real aggressive land bombs. They've made it practically impossible. There's 1 tile of a gap to get in and out of Alabama's territory. So, really nice job. Now there's no gap. Now South Carolina has completely blocked Alabama into Bryant-Denny Stadium, and they're even starting to encroach upon Arkansas. So, wow, really good move there by South Carolina to they've cut Ole Miss off. Ole Miss can't invade. Even Arkansas is going to have a hard time invading. They have a 2-tile radius to get into Alabama's territory. So really smart moves by South Carolina there. I'm waiting for Mizzou to do something. They need to. There we go. So Mizzou is going to invade Mississippi State. They're technologically inferior now. Mississippi State does have riflemen, and they probably waited about 5 turns too long to do that. But South Carolina is going to declare war on Florida. They're not going to commit to that, I don't think. Arkansas is going to declare war on Florida, and they could actually commit to this one. Will Arkansas fully commit to a war effort? We'll find out, because they're not going north anymore, so south is really their only option. Mississippi State sending whatever they can in to prevent Mizzou from advancing, but this is a lot of their military bulk here. So if Mizzou can hold them off, then Mizzou can launch their own invasion to a pretty much unprotected Davis Wade Stadium. Yes, Alabama does have a 1-tile island that's in between both South Carolina and Arkansas territory now. So South Carolina does seem to be committing a small faction of their military to go towards Florida. But with Florida being such a fortress, as we've seen with that war with Mississippi State, that's not a good idea to fight a war from so far away. Arkansas is in a slightly better spot. Jordan Hare is pretty close to them, but they're not going to make it all the way down to Sanford Stadium, I don't think. All right, so Mizzou doing a good job of holding their own against Mississippi State, but unfortunately the Bulldogs, with their 2 extra cities, are able to outproduce the Tigers and are doing a great job of getting that military back up and keeping the pressure on Mizzou instead of the other way around. Here comes the South Carolina fighting squad. Arkansas's military is just smashed against Florida's borders and is now lying pretty broken. I guess they have open borders with South Carolina because South Carolina is just walking straight through their territory. Arkansas does have Tusk. They can use him to capture cities, but I don't think they're going to be able to. He's gone. So, will South Carolina pull through and take Jordan Hare? We'll see. Alabama's doing okay holding on in their very, very cramped quarters. Ole Miss quietly sitting there. Mizzou is regretting that war, I think. They were just a little too late. They had Davis Wade Stadium open. They didn't commit. Then they finally did commit, but Mississippi State has had time to rebuild and is now keeping the pressure on. And now Mizzou's military is very, very weak and vulnerable. All right, South Carolina and Arkansas keeping the pressure on Jordan Hare Stadium. The Gamecocks get to the borders of the city, but Florida's there to meet them. Florida's just been in a lot of trouble lately with Mississippi State land bombing them and fighting them. Their military has been pretty much destroyed for a while now. South Carolina adopts autocracy, and they're going to keep rushing it with units. So, see, Ole Miss isn't going to be that much of a threat because Ole Miss is so far behind. They're on riflemen and knights. Ole Miss is on musketmen and pikemen, and that's just such a disadvantage for the rebels against the Gamecocks. Not to mention, I mean, just how cramped Ole Miss is with Mizzou encroaching upon them here with their expansions initially. That is a huge South Carolina army, by the way. Let's see if they use that to attack Ole Miss. These land bombs by South Carolina bring them pretty much right up to Bryant-Denny Stadium if they decide to declare war again. Arkansas is in South Carolina territory, and South Carolina is on the move with that massive military. They're going to make peace with Florida. So now it's back down to just Arkansas against the Gators. And Arkansas is struggling to do anything. So South Carolina is regrouping. We'll see if they want to go to war against Ole Miss. Ole Miss does make peace with Alabama. They couldn't get there anyway. There was no way they could attack. I want to see if South Carolina is bold enough to go to war with Ole Miss, but it looks like they're gearing up to go to Alabama. So here comes the South Carolina-Alabama war. Wait for it. Wait for it. Not yet. Arkansas bringing the fight to Jordan Hare here. They're starting to do damage, but not enough to take it yet. There is not the war I was there's the war I was expecting. So Arkansas declares war against Alabama as well. So now Arkansas gave themselves a two-front war to fight, whereas South Carolina gives themselves a fair advantage in that war against Alabama. Mizzou builds the Sistine Chapel, and Mississippi State now has pushed through. Mizzou's army is dead and gone, and the Bulldogs are starting to do damage to Memorial Stadium. It flashed to the yellow there for a second. What will fall first, Memorial Stadium or Bryant-Denny? I'm going to bet you Memorial Stadium will, but it's going to be very close. Actually, I may go with Bryant-Denny now, because Mississippi State's running out of units in the area, and South Carolina brought pretty much the house. Arkansas tries to sneak in with a Tusk, but he gets there a little bit too early, I think. He's not going to get it. So Bryant-Denny takes a little bit more damage. Memorial Stadium sitting pretty at about half health. And it just keeps sitting there. Bryant-Denny's still not in the yellow yet. It seems that Memorial Stadium's healing a bit faster than it's taking damage, so it's not really moving at all. Mississippi State's run out of military, so if they don't get it here, they've lost. They've lost the opportunity for now. Bryant-Denny taking a lot of damage there. Tusk is pushed to the back, so South Carolina has free access to Bryant-Denny, and they should take it. And oh, they got another Tusk in there, so will Arkansas snipe the city? No. They made peace with Florida, tried to take Bryant-Denny and failed. South Carolina does succeed and gets it, so that is an F in the chat for Alabama. They tried to hold on, but South Carolina land bombed them into submission, and that is the end of the Crimson Tide. So yeah, Arkansas had their chance. They tried. I saw that Tusk come in there at the last second, but South Carolina got there first. Tusk was not able to pull through, and now Arkansas is back to just a war with Florida, who is slowly rebuilding their military. So down here in the south, Memorial Stadium's down in the yellow still. It's actually recovering, it seems like, from where it left off. Mississippi State's running out of military units to take it. Ole Miss could easily invade right now if they want to. Everyone's okay. Yeah, Arkansas is down dead last in terms of technologies researched, and it's a pretty far gap. So Ole Miss is missing an opportunity here to take an undefended Memorial Stadium. Because right now, South Carolina's got a choice to make. Do they want to go after Arkansas, or do they want to go after Ole Miss? Arkansas would probably be the easier fight, and that seems to be where they're headed. You can see them bulking up still up here in the north. Ole Miss would be a challenge, but they're technologically inferior, so it wouldn't be as bad as it looks. They do have Colonel Reb, but at this point, the technology advantage outshines the unique unit advantage. So Mississippi State adopts order, and South Carolina prepares for an invasion against Arkansas. Florida's still at war. It's just pot shots at this point. They haven't really fought much. Arkansas's rebuilt a bit. And South Carolina instead declares war on Mississippi State, not who I thought. Arkansas declares war against Mississippi State. Not sure why they're going after the team on the other end of the continent. Because, I mean, this is not something Arkansas should be worried about or anything, especially since Florida has land bombed them again, and Arkansas now just kind of looks like Croatia, that little sea just squished between Florida and South Carolina's territory. Yeah, that is just, Arkansas has just these few tiles of territory left to stick any units. So Mississippi State, it makes sense to declare war. They're weak right now. They have no military. Florida would be better to invade them. They're actually in proximity to them. Make peace with Arkansas quickly. Let South Carolina handle them. They're going to take them. Where are these guys going? Are they going north or south? They're going south. So expect a declaration of war between South Carolina and either Mizzou or Ole Miss right here. Like very soon. They have open borders with Mizzou, it looks like. Are they actually going for Mississippi State? It looks like they are. Mississippi State does have great war infantry, so they are actually technologically ahead. Did Arkansas and Florida make peace? Then I miss it. Yes. So the only war right now is Mississippi State versus Arkansas and South Carolina. So everyone else is at peace besides Mississippi State. South Carolina kind of committing. Mississippi State has done a good job of rebuilding. After that war with Mizzou, they went home, rebuilt some units, upgraded some units, and now they're actually in a pretty good spot. Florida's catching back up after their war with Arkansas. They're tied in terms of city count to Mississippi State, but both teams are 2 cities behind South Carolina, so big advantage for the Gamecocks there. They're sending in their next group of units, but they do make peace with Mississippi State, so they're not going to go there. Florida is going to reignite that war with Arkansas. They have all their units ready. It's just a ton of cannons, so they really, really want Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. And it would be beneficial for them to have it. It puts them right up against South Carolina, which is scary, but that's 4 cities compared to Mississippi State's 3 and South Carolina's 5. So it gives them a competitive advantage over everyone else. If they can take Mississippi State on next and win, they're in a really good spot. You just got to hope South Carolina doesn't join in on this fight. Arkansas's military is pretty much defeated. Florida needs to just quickly go for the stadium now instead of mopping up units. They have tons of cannons, so they can easily start doing damage to that city, like a lot of damage to that city. So they got to get the cannons. They need a turn to set up. And there they go. They're set up. They're ready to do damage. They're blocking South Carolina, which is really smart. They're moving into position so South Carolina can't surprise invade and take the city from them. All right, the stadium's down to the yellow. Things aren't looking good for them. South Carolina's not going to interfere. Mississippi State's managed to hold them back. Florida needs to act quickly, though. They're losing units, and they, for some reason, are moving them around instead of just sitting there and attacking. So Arkansas may live again, just Florida was being incompetent there. They're not doing what they need to do. They're keeping it in the yellow, but they're not committing to the attack. Get the cannon. Come on, guys. Use the cannons. Arkansas is just not willing to die. They're doing their best to throw it away, but they just get lucky every time. They're chasing Florida away now. Tusk is chasing the Gators' cannons away and doing pretty good damage to it. Arkansas is going to live to see another day. They've pushed off another invasion. Now, if South Carolina invades, I think it's going to be all over for the Razorbacks. And that looks to be what they're doing. Ole Miss has been very quiet. Mizzou's back to pretty good strength. They're going to be worried about Mississippi State down here in the south, though. But and I think South Carolina knows Ole Miss isn't going to mess with them. So yeah, Arkansas pushes Florida back. Those land bombs were for nothing. They had it right up against the... Like, look at... These walls are all on the border or in Florida's territory, and they couldn't get to it. They couldn't commit enough. Like, you could have had your cannons set up and ready to go before you even declared war. Like, put a cannon here, 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 and just shoot 5 cannons into the city at once. And you would have had the thing to the deep red in, like, 2 turns. I don't know what you were doing. All right, so Mizzou's going to launch an invasion against, I'm guessing, Arkansas. They're on the way. The middle's getting really, really crowded, so it's going to be hard to move military units around. Mississippi State has a lot of money compared to Arkansas, who has the second most money, and they're still that bad with it. This explains why Ole Miss is so far behind and just not willing to move. They have no money whatsoever. South Carolina is very poor, and that's just because they have such a massive military. The spending they have to do to keep that maintained has got to be pretty high. So there's the Mizzou declaration of war against Arkansas. they're going to have trouble getting there. This lake tile leaves them with just one tile of land to go around to get to the stadium. So that's going to be hard to do. Arkansas makes peace with Mississippi State. And Mississippi State's about to invade Florida, it looks like. They're getting ready to go try again for Sanford Stadium, and I think they have enough units to do it. At this point, they're technologically advanced to where that Great Wall is no longer a factor. So this is where the teams who get the Great Wall, they do a good job lasting to about this point in the game, but then if they weren't aggressively expanding with that wall, they falter. And Florida's trying again. They're doing more damage to Razorback Stadium again with their rifleman units, but it's not enough, guys. They're not going to do it. Mizzou's not committing. They realize how hard it's going to be to get there, so they're not sending any units in. Arkansas is on a diplomatic mission, I guess, with South Carolina asking them please to not invade. I don't know what's going on. What is Arkansas doing? It's been such a bizarre team. Like, they've had so many opportunities to put themselves in pretty much South Carolina's position now, and they've squandered all of them. Mizzou's just trying to figure out how to get in there, and it's not working. Ole Miss just sitting there. They're existing. Florida makes peace with Arkansas. So now if I were Mizzou, I would join forces with Mississippi State and declare war against Florida. Ole Miss adapts autocracy. Sorry, I've been having tongue-tied all day, I guess. I'm expecting that declaration of war between Mississippi State and Florida very soon. I don't know what Ole Miss is doing. They're content with this little sliver of land they got. They filled it with units, and they're going to just hang out. They're going to get in the way here in the middle. You see a lot of them just impeding movement in the middle. But they're not really wanting to expand. They just want people to forget they exist. I guess no one told them you have to have every capital to win, so they can just let everyone fight it out, but then they can be the last. They want to last as number 2, I guess. They're not going to win, but if you can just let everyone forget about that you exist until you get to second place, I guess you can claim you made second place. I don't know. Mississippi State does declare war against Florida, so here comes that invasion of the Gators. Sanford Stadium immediately taking damage. They have aircraft, so that now changes the dynamic of the war entirely. They can bomb units, they can bomb cities without militaries even needing to be there. They have just like 10 times the military strength that Florida does. So as long as they don't do something stupid like go straight for Ben Hill Griffin Stadium again, then I think this is Mississippi State's to lose. So not committing yet. Not fully. Mizzou's on the move somewhere. South Carolina's getting really, really big up in the north. Let's take a look. That's a good question. So how far behind is everybody? Let's take a look at the charts here. So militarily, Alabama. Oh, they got eliminated. Sorry. Florida is pretty low, and that just has to do with that long war with Arkansas, and now this one with Mississippi State. South Carolina is above and beyond the top militarily. Mississippi State's second, and a pretty clear second. Arkansas is way down here. They're in. I'm pretty sure that's last. This green line right here is 0. So if you're below it, you're not good. That's not good. Mizzou is actually higher, and I'm guessing this light blue line must be Ole Miss. So Ole Miss has the 4th largest military in the game behind Mizzou, and it's a very close distance between the two. But Florida and then Arkansas way down here are very far behind. In terms of where is tech? Here we go. So technologies, that's going to be South Carolina at the top. No, it's not. Mississippi State is at the top in technologies, and Arkansas is lagging really far behind. So we don't have the actual numbers, but you can just see like how far they've been pretty behind for a while now. So technologically, Arkansas is falling behind, and that just has to do with how little land they have. Their tile improvements have to be awful. Their workers have like nothing to use, so that's going to set them back a lot. Missouri adopts autocracy. South Carolina is now on that border of Ole Miss, but they're also on the border of Arkansas. They can fight like a 3-front war if they want to. Mississippi State does pull through. They capture Sanford Stadium with little to no resistance. Florida will get it back, but Mississippi State will take it right back with ease. And with each city capture, they lose a unit. So if Florida flips that city multiple times, they're losing a unit with each flip. So that's not good for the longevity of the Gators. Mississippi State seems to be content with just Sanford Stadium now. They may make that second push to Ben Hill Griffin. I'm not sure. They want to be careful. Mizzou's not going to hit them. Mizzou's way up here. So you got to be careful with what you can get. Excuse me one second. I got to sneeze. Oh, went away. Never mind. All right, so yeah, Mississippi State is kind of committing to Ben Hill Griffin. They're working on like picking off some of the last remaining Florida units. Ole Miss still being forgotten about. Arkansas is just there. South Carolina just needs to put them out of their misery, I think. Florida's not going to be able to do it now. They're too busy defending themselves. Mississippi State doesn't really have much to worry about. I would say fully commit this, because Mizzou's not going to do much. You can quickly turn around and attack Mizzou if you need to. Alright, so everyone's denouncing Mississippi State and Ole Miss. That's the first action I think I've seen with Ole Miss involved in a while. You have planes, why not just bomb Ben Hill Griffin? South Carolina just taking all the archaeological sites, which do nothing in this game, but, you know, it's nice to have. Alright, Florida is now into the point with planes, so they're going to even the odds a little bit here against Mississippi State. South Carolina just is filling half the map with units at this point. They could just pick a team, declare war, and just destroy them. Arkansas adopts autocracy. They're probably going to try to build all the order, ideology things with it, because that's how they've been doing this game. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. All right, so here's the first very aggressive cavalry unit to go into Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, and he is immediately taken. So there's not a commitment against Florida here. They're grouping, but they're not pushing in. So will we see an attack against Ben Hill Griffin Stadium? I'm not sure. I don't think we will. They'd be better off going after Jordan-Hare. Go after Jordan-Hare Stadium and just lock Florida in. Cities we all like to visit, it's not important. Arkansas's got a, a good try military right there, and it's mostly archaeologists and great people that can't attack anything. So Mizzou is actually still at war with them, so they're going to push into that territory, but they're not. It's just this one tile is keeping them from doing it. If they can get open borders with Florida, they could go after that war, go all out with what they got. But as of right now, that's not going to happen. South Carolina, I'm not sure what they're waiting on. Like, just invade. Just take that city if you want to. Take Ole Miss's too. Like, what are you being quiet for? You could win this game with just one fell swoop here if you wanted to, with that military size. Alrighty. So there's the commitment to Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Florida's pretty much out of units. Still not a full commitment. They should be sending in artillery units to actually do damage to the city. Arkansas taking some pot shots at Mizzou, whittling that military away. Don't attack immediately with our, like, I meant keep the artillery back, but don't send one right to the front lines. They're not going to attack. They don't need to be right next to the city to attack it. I hate the AI in this game sometimes. They make no sense. Alright, so Florida's doing a good job there. Their Pantheon of Gods is doing wonders of defense. The Great Wall isn't a factor in this anymore, really. They can go straight through it with the technology they have now. Arkansas just gets to live. Ole Miss just gets to exist. I'm not sure what Mizzou's doing. They've just been keeping a military in the middle of the map. They're like they're basically just making sure that Arkansas doesn't leave. Like, Arkansas's not allowed to leave this way. They're stuck where they are. Like shooting fish in a barrel for South Carolina if they want to. Yeah, Mississippi State needs to either make peace with Florida and go after Mizzou, or really fully commit to trying and taking Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Like, none of this send one unit in there, have them get killed, send another. Like, really commit to it. Arkansas is being quarantined. Yeah, that's pretty much what's happening. That is pretty much what's going on right now, is Arkansas is being quarantined. They have open borders with South Carolina, but the Gamecocks just have so many units against their borders that they can't do anything with it. They can't move. They're stuck. So yeah, Mizzou just keeping them in. They're keeping them penned in. Not enough to fight. Mississippi State's still having a lot of trouble taking Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. South Carolina's got cold feet about attacking anybody. Ole Miss still wants people to forget that they exist. And yeah, that's just pretty much where we're at right now. No one is doing anything. This has been a weird one. It's been a very, very weird one. Like, we're not going to do all that work because there's actual wars happening, so. But no one's committing. Florida's actually been able to rebuild somewhat because it's been so light in the attack by Mississippi State. So it's really just, why hasn't South Carolina done anything? Like, they have enough military strength to wipe out easily Ole Miss and Mizzou. Like, no question. South Carolina also has cocky. So that's another advantage that they have over everyone else. Welcome to the SEC. Yeah, you're exactly right. So this has been a weird one. Welcome to the SEC. It just means more, really. Like, this game just means more. Oh, come on, guys. Do something. Like, this has been the game of non-commitment. That's really what it's been. More hours. That's exactly what we're getting right now, is more hours. So, Ole Miss has 6 wonders, apparently. So does Florida. So that's what Ole Miss has been doing. Man, I don't know. I want to make South Carolina do something, but it's just, I don't want to force them into a war if there's other wars going on. So if anyone makes peace and South Carolina doesn't go to war, we'll do something. But because right now it's just watching teams waste military for hundreds of turns, when you have one team that could easily just wipe everyone out, that's now all of a sudden gotten cold feet after being so aggressive. Like, with Mississippi State being in number 2, but constantly sending units to get destroyed by Florida, like, South Carolina has to have pulled away by now, right? Yeah, look at that. South Carolina's way up here. Like, they have more than these 4 teams combined down here. Like, Mississippi State's above and beyond everyone else that's left, but South Carolina, and that's just going to keep growing. Like, they're going to get farther and farther away. Are they unhappy? That could be why they're not attacking. Probably, with how many people they have. Where's their happiness? They are... No, they're happy. They had a huge jump in happiness for some reason. Here, this green line here is net 0. And, or no, that's us. Sorry, you know what? That green line is us. It's not even net 0. Down here is net 0. And, yeah, I mean, Mississippi State was, or is plummeting that way. South Carolina was, for the longest time, very unhappy. So yeah, you can see it. They reached really bad unhappiness and have shot up. So wait, I was wrong. Who is this? That's South Carolina. Oh, this black is just where they cross. Okay, so yeah, they were really unhappy. Now they've shot up and they're the happiest team in the game. That was weird. Okay, so now that they're the happiest team in the game, I guess they discovered drugs or something. I don't know what they did. But now that they're the happiest team, maybe that'll push them into fighting? Because, yeah, unhappiness will definitely cause some hesitance to go to war. Oh, look at that. Mizzou actually is committing to the fight against Donald W. Reynolds Stadium. But because it's so hard to fight there, they lost immediately. So they're keeping the majority of their units at home. Maybe they'll go to war with Ole Miss like they should have a long time ago. This is still happening. South Carolina just sitting there. Like, I'm about to just make South Carolina go to war with everybody at once. Oh wait, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium is taking damage. Finally, they just needed to wait for the right technologies, I guess, because this anti-aircraft gun can take the city, and it will. So there's finally some progress. Mississippi State captures Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. That Great Wall benefit is over. Florida is out of units. They're going to finally make peace. We can break that cycle of things happening. Arkansas is going to denounce Mississippi State. That's fine. We know they're not going to do anything. Florida can rebuild slightly. Mississippi State's going to land bomb themselves right up to Jordan-Hare Stadium. They now own two-fifths of that wall. Arkansas probably won't get their first city. I doubt they're going to do anything. If anything, I expect this to be when South Carolina just unleashes hell. Look at Mississippi State's definitely the farthest ahead technologically. They have infantry, anti-aircraft, paratroopers, whereas South Carolina's still on a Great War infantry and cavalry. So Mississippi State now, I think, they have 5, right? They have 5 cities, so they're tied with South Carolina. And with the technology advantage, they actually probably are in a better spot. They're going to go to war with Mizzou. So all it took was Ben Hill Griffin Stadium getting finally taken with this technological boost, and now Mississippi State is ready to invade people. They're aggressive again. Finally. So Mizzou is going to make peace with Arkansas. That was needed, well needed. And they're going to try to stop this, but this one's going to go much quicker than Florida did. Florida at least had the Great Wall and the 30% range bonus. So Mizzou has none of that. The technology you saw really is what turned that tide against Ben Hill Griffin. They've land bombed them a few more times. Florida's now starting to look like Arkansas. We're just getting nice like stacks of C teams. They're like cups of territories over here on the East Coast. Just everyone. This has been a game of land bombs. Like you've seen a few in the rest of the conferences, but this one's really been a lot of like, I'm taking your land, and there's nothing you can do about it. East Division Flip Cup. That's exactly what this is. All right, so Memorial Stadium finally starts to take damage. Mizzou's military is gone, and yeah, so this Memorial Stadium should fall here in the next like 2 turns. Florida's going to go to war, or no, sorry, Missouri's going to go to war against Florida. That must be a distraction fight. Arkansas is going to go to war against Florida. That one actually has some consequence, but we both know nothing's going to happen. And Memorial Stadium goes down. So Mississippi State eliminates Mizzou. That is an F in the chat for Mizzou. And we're finally getting some progress here in the game. Mississippi State is in the best position here to win the game now with the most cities and the most technologically advanced military. They now have the ability to build nukes, which really improves their chances. We may finally get a nuclear war in this game. We'll see. South Carolina moving into position for Arkansas, but that doesn't mean anything as we've seen so far. Will Mississippi State finally be the one to break Ole Miss? South Carolina is going to move in and go to war against Arkansas, so this will be the death blow for the Razorbacks, I think. They've done a great job of grasping victory through the arms of defeat, or through the hands of defeat, but yeah, they're down to over half health taken now, so down to the red. And will it be Gaki that does it, or will it be someone else? It was someone else. I don't even know who took it, but there we go. Arkansas has been eliminated from the game. Donald W. Reynolds Stadium is now firmly in South Carolina's control, and that is an F in the chat for Arkansas. They lasted inexplicably long for how they played the game, but they lasted. And yeah, Mizzou cannot be sanctioned for this. They fought hard. They tried. They tried to keep the quarantine in at Arkansas too, so that was some decent effort by the Tigers, but not enough. We may see Mississippi State go back to war with Florida here and finally take Jordan-Hare Stadium before they let South Carolina get it. South Carolina is gearing up for that war. You can see them all grouping over here. And yeah, Ole Miss is really going to last until like 3rd place just because people forgot about them. Alrighty, so let's see. It's probably going to be Florida next. They're the weakest. I think people just are scared of fighting this very inferior army of Ole Miss. Actually, Ole Miss is pretty close to South Carolina in terms of technologies. Like, Mississippi State is above and beyond everyone else right now. Yes, but South Carolina has a ton of money, and that's one thing that really, really helps them out. So who's going to go to war next? Will it be Mississippi State or South Carolina or both against Ole Miss, Florida, or each other? Everyone's gearing planes up over here in the east. Again, they've all forgotten Ole Miss exists. Ole Miss's military has kind of been kept as a deterrent against everyone invading them. It's a really terrible deterrent, but it's been working for them for some reason, so. At this point, there's every peace agreement. There is a 10-turn armistice between both parties. So, after that initial peace deal with Florida, Mississippi State could not go to war with them for 10 turns. It has been well beyond 10 turns now, so they can go to war again with the Gators, but they don't seem to be committed to it yet. I'm wondering if their happiness took a hit. We're going to go to turn 975. It's turn 920 now. And at turn 975, we're going to force a war and see what happens. Ole Miss is having time to build up. I'm betting you their happiness is tanking. Or their gold, because their military is actually diminished quite a bit, it looks like. But we need to get this thing over with because we need to move on to the Sun Belt here soon. So we're going to force a war here at turn 975. If nothing happens. And I think Ole Miss will run through Florida. They'll take Jordan-Hare. Ole Miss will probably fall next, and it's going to be a toss-up for me between who gets it. I think it will be Mississippi State. But it depends on where South Carolina wants to concentrate their fighting. So there's the Pentagon for Mississippi State. And I guess I would make Mississippi State the aggressor. They're technologically advanced and they have the most cities. So, right? I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's tied, actually. Both South Carolina and Mississippi State have 6 cities apiece. So, never mind. It is a tie there, but technologically, Mississippi State is ahead. South Carolina is catching up. They now have infantry that I can see. But they don't have mobile SAMs yet, or any of that sort. So I do see anti-tank guns. But we're at 948, turn 948, so we're almost to turn 975. So continuing on, let's see. Florida has entered the atomic era. That's not going to help them. They don't have... The uranium's all in the middle here. So we actually may see... I think Mississippi State is on 2 of the uranium tiles, and I think South Carolina is on the other 2. So we may actually see an equal distribution of uranium. So they're definitely in the middle there. They're in like a corner pattern. So I see units mobilizing. So maybe we may see a war here against Florida soon. The forced war may not need to happen. If we get to 975 and they're all right here, we'll give it a few more turns just to see if they do it themselves. So there's the Great Firewall for Mississippi State. They are definitely ahead in technology. They're towards the end of the technology tree at this point. They have 6 guided missiles in there. No nukes yet, so... I'm wondering if they don't have the uranium yet, because they would have probably had a nuclear bomb by now. There's South Carolina's ability, and it doesn't seem like they're going to commit to that war yet. So we're going to see we're still slated to go for turn 975. Maybe they'll squeeze a war in there before I can get to it. Over on this front, South Carolina looks poised to take on Ole Miss. Those literate, yeah, they're really far ahead of everyone else, and that comes down to they own the Great Library. I forget which one of these teams down here built it, but someone here built the Great Library, so that gave Mississippi State a huge advantage for owning it. They're pushing up towards Florida. We're at turn 978. I want to see where this push ends first before I make that war declaration. Looks like they're going to split, and so we'll go to turn 990. I just want to see. I saw them bulked up, which usually means a fight. South Carolina's grouped up. They're on the move. What are they doing? Are they going to war? Are they going to war? It looks like they're going to war. All right, so the force war may not happen because they may do it themselves. Come on. They're acting so aggressive, but they're just not following through with it. All right, this is it. No war is going to be declared here, so I'm going to force it. It is turn 1000. We're going to have, let's do, both teams are going to be the aggressors against Florida and Ole Miss, but in terms of the two of them against each other, I'll have Mississippi State be the aggressor. And they're going to declare war to Florida and Ole Miss and South Carolina, and then Muschamp is going to declare war against Florida and Ole Miss, and then Florida will declare war on Ole Miss as well. Yeah. So there we go. Everyone's at war. Let's see what happens. I expect Jordan Hare to be eliminated pretty much immediately. There we go. It's down to half health already. Let's just get this thing over with, shall we? Let's see how it ends. All right, so South Carolina is going to make that push, but again, with Mississippi State being at Florida's walls, they were going to get Jordan Hare. And they do. So Jordan Hare goes down. Florida has been eliminated. That is an F in the chat for Florida. South Carolina is going to do their damnedest, though, to take it back. They also rush into Vaught Hemingway Stadium, so South Carolina may get Ole Miss's capital as a consolation prize. So we're going to stay at 2 or 7 capitals apiece. We're going to keep it even. But now Ole Miss is going to make their push into South Carolina territory on the east. So Ole Miss staying back here in the west. They're not rushing in to try and take Vaught Hemingway yet. We're probably going to see a couple city flips between South Carolina and Mississippi State. But Vaught Hemingway starts to take damage, and now the war is pushing up towards Donald W.D. Reynolds. Or, sorry, not W.D., W. Reynolds. No D. All right, so Jordan Hare is getting shellacked by planes, so it's going to stay at low health probably for a while. Vaught Hemingway down to just under half health. Donald W. Reynolds was taking damage but is no longer. South Carolina does take Vaught Hemingway Stadium, so that is going to be an F in the chat for South Carolina. Both teams are tied with 7 cities apiece at the moment. Technological advantage goes to Mississippi State. So can they make that push here and go after South Carolina aggressively enough to capture it? They do take Vaught Hemingway Stadium for a split second, but South Carolina does manage to take it back. They're going to keep that push going. South Carolina running out of units. They have 2 fronts that they're really pushing. Mississippi State has a huge reserve at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, so they can make that push on the East Coast easily. They're being really hesitant to move forward, though. They do have, I see, helicopter gunships. So that'll help them in the fight. Again, technologically superior. Vaught Hemingway about to go down again. Just got to move someone into position to capture it. A mobile SAM could do it. There it goes. So Vaught Hemingway Stadium goes down. South Carolina trying to make that last push to recapture it again. The eastern front is getting weakened a lot. So it's really down to this western push as Mississippi State makes their way through South Carolina's military. They do capture Vaught Hemingway again and are holding it for now. The fight at Jordan Hare is still raging on, but the battle seems to be mostly over here in the west. South Carolina sending everything they got, but they're empty in the backfield here. So if they can push through and take on this eastern front and this western front, and if Vaught Hemingway falls again, that's probably going to be the end of South Carolina. They're really fighting like tooth and nail to get this. Jordan Hare is finally healing back to almost full health. And Mississippi State is moving into Vaught Hemingway with mobile SAMs, but they just are having to get through the last fighting of South Carolina's desperate military to get there. Not yet, but it's coming. They're moving in towards Donald W. Reynolds. Vaught Hemingway again, still getting beaten by air and land. South Carolina is doing a good job of holding, but they've pretty much run out of military units. So now should be the beginning of the turn. There goes Vaught Hemingway Stadium. South Carolina's got a single infantry there to take it back. Will they do it? No. And now the push for Donald W. Reynolds begins. Mississippi State has a ton of units reserved in the back here, so they build the telescope so they can now see the whole map. They can see that South Carolina's out of military, so now they actually can see the map kind of like we do. Donald W. Reynolds immediately dropped to under half health, now down to the deep red. South Carolina is going to use that money to try to build military units as fast as possible, but they do lose Donald W. Reynolds, so that's a big loss for them. So now the fight is moving up to Bryant-Denny and Williams-Brice. If Mississippi State captures Williams-Brice, that's South Carolina's capital. It's all over. That's their largest. No, it's not. Sorry, Vanderbilt's their largest, but I bet you they have a lot of most of their resources are in Williams-Brice. So if they lose that, that's a huge loss for the Gamecocks, and that'll be pretty much the end. So in terms of gold, yeah, South Carolina's got a lot of money, but Mississippi State's not too far behind. So South Carolina can outspend them, but they're going to have to spend a lot on defense. Mississippi State can also spend quickly, and they have a lot more cities to spend in, so that's going to help them out. Williams-Brice goes down to under half health and is immediately captured in 2 turns. So that is going to be a big loss for South Carolina. And the push just keeps going up, into Neyland Stadium. They're actually skipping Bryant-Denny. They're going to do that one last, I guess. They're going straight for Vanderbilt Stadium so they can consolidate, I guess, and have just one focal point at the end. So they're abandoning Neyland Stadium, going straight for Vanderbilt. Not sure why they're not bringing all of these guys into the fight, especially down here too. But let's see if they move. Yeah, they're on the move. So they're going to go after Bryant-Denny. Lost the camera there for a second. They're going to go after Bryant-Denny, so they're going to play smart with this. They're going to just go in order. Bryant-Denny brought down to the red, and it should fall here in this turn. There it goes. So Bryant-Denny Stadium is captured. We're down to 3, and South Carolina is down to no military. So Will Muschamp seems to be giving up here at the end. As Vanderbilt Stadium goes down in 2 turns, we're down to 2 teams with, I see 2 South Carolina military units total, with 3 if you count the plane. So Kyle Field starts to take damage. It should go in probably the next 2 turns. Down to the yellow, down to still the yellow. And there goes Kyle Field. So now it's down to just Neyland Stadium. South Carolina's shacking up in Tennessee's former capital. And we are done. There we go. So Mississippi State's going to win the SEC round of this game. They're going to join East Carolina, Syracuse, Michigan State, I want to say. I have it written. I'll look it up. But that is an F for South Carolina. I'll let you guys know who's in it when we start the Sun Belt here in a few minutes. So thank you for watching. We will be right back after the short break with the Sun Belt, and then we will know all of our champions for tomorrow at 6 p.m. Yes, the cowbells have finally silenced. Or no, they're loud. Sorry, had that backwards. The cowbells are now deafening. So it's going to be a lot of cowbell in the finals. Prepare. And yeah, we will be right back after a short break with the Sun Belt, and then we will have all of our champions. So tomorrow at 6 p.m. we will be doing the finals, and we can go late with that one because it's a Friday. So 6 p.m. tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, we will be doing the finals. But coming up in about 5 minutes, we will be doing the Sun Belt, so stay tuned.